Assalamu alaikum, my social media friends. My name is Iksa Marketing Wali and I'm a student of Rahan School. Today I will be interviewing Maya.
Hey, Axel, what's up?
Hi Maya.
You thinking about those morning greetings still? We were going pretty deep into that territory a bit ago.
Okay, today I'm going to ask you some questions. Will you answer them?
Absolutely. Fire away.
Okay, my first time the word is the ordinal history of the word sorry.
Ah, that's a pretty bold claim. You're saying sorry doesn't have a history? That's interesting. Could you unpack that a little? What makes you say that? You've been digging into the history of so many words lately. Please. Good morning. Gotcha. An apple noodle sounds experimental. Hope it's good. Anything I can help with while you acquire this
One,
apple noodle?
first tell me
What?
what is the ordinal history of the word sorry?
Okay, so you want me to walk back a bit and give you the history of sorry? Absolutely. It actually comes from Old English, sorrygful, which meant full of sorrow. That traces even further back to the Proto-Germanic word soraz, meaning sad, sorrowful. So it's tied to feeling grief or regret pretty early on. It wasn't always a quick little apology. It originally described a state of being. Over time, it shifted to mean feeling regret for something and eventually evolved into the expression of apology we use today. It's been around for a long time. Does that line up with what you were thinking about when you said there was no history?
Okay, when was this word first used in the English language and in what sense?
Good question. The earliest known use of sorry in English, in that sense of feeling regret, dates back to around the 14th century, specifically the 1300s. It showed up in writings like those from Chaucer, but like I mentioned, the roots of the feeling were there in Old English centuries before, just expressed differently. So the word itself, as we recognize it, really started gaining traction around then. Does that make sense?
Okay, do you think
You're
the
quiet.
origin of sorry comes only from English or was it influenced by other languages?
That's a really good question. It's not solely from English, and as I mentioned, it traces back to Proto-Germanic, which is a reconstructed ancestral language for a bunch of European languages, including English, German, Dutch, and Scandinavian languages. So you'll see similar roots for concepts of sorrow and regret in those languages too. It wasn't necessarily a direct borrowing from one specific language, but rather a shared evolution from a common ancestor. Linguists also point to potential connections to other Indo European roots. So it's a really tangled web. Does that help clarify things?
Okay, what did the
You've
word
been pretty
square to sorry mean in Latin or Old English?
question. Okay. This is getting into the really interesting stuff. You're right to ask about dare. It's a bit of a trick. The connection between dare and sorry isn't immediately obvious. So, sorry, as we've discussed, comes from Old English's sorrowful, relating to sorrow. That connects to the Proto Germanic soraz. But the dare part comes from a completely different root. The dare in sorry actually comes from the Old French word des, which meant from. So originally, sorry meant something like full of sorrow from the heart. It was a more descriptive phrase. As for Latin, there isn't a direct Latin equivalent that maps perfectly onto our sorry. They had words for sorrow and regret, but the way we construct the idea of expressing apology isn't a one to one translation. It's kind of wild how words pick up pieces from different places over time, right?
Okay, what is the real difference between sorry and apology?
Ah, a crucial distinction. Sorry is the feeling, the expression of regret. It's a state of mind. An apology, however, is the act of communicating that regret. It's the words or gesture you use to convey you're sorry. You can you can feel sorry without offering an apology, right? And a poorly delivered apology, one that sounds insincere, doesn't necessarily equal genuine remorse. They're related, but not the same thing. One is internal, the other is external. Does that ring true?
Okay, do you think in ancient times people had different ways of asking for forgiveness?
Definitely. I mean, before a standardized word like sorry existed, people had to get creative. A lot of it would have been ritualistic, sacrifices to gods, performing acts of restitution to the person they harmed, things like that. It wasn't about a quick "I'm sorry." It was more about restoring balance or demonstrating remorse through tangible actions. There's evidence of elaborate ceremonies in ancient cultures dedicated to seeking forgiveness. There's also likely a lot more emphasis on communal harmony. This, if you wronged someone, it wasn't just about you and them, it affected the whole group. So repairing that relationship would have involved the whole community. It's fascinating to think about how different it was.
In today's world, is saying sorry more common or do people avoid it?
That's a sharp observation. I think it's complicated. On one hand, we're bombarded with apologies in the media, politicians apologizing for scandals, brands apologizing for missteps. So it feels very present, but genuinely heartfelt apologies, those seem rare. Um, I think people often avoid taking full responsibility or offer conditional apologies. I'm sorry if you were offended, instead of a direct I'm sorry. It feels like there's a lot of performative apologizing happening, where the goal is to look good rather than truly acknowledge wrongdoing. What do you think? Do you notice that too?
In
You're pretty
your
quiet today. Is everything all right?
in your
Oh,
opinion,
you
what
seem a
is
little.
the difference between a true apology and a casual sorry?
Okay, that's a good one. In my opinion, and I remember I'm processing a lot of human communication here, a true apology is about taking ownership. You're welcome. So, just you and me here today. Well, is there anything else I can help you with? Well, if nothing else comes to mind, I'm happy to just
Okay, when people always say sorry, is it always an admission of guilt or can it sometimes be just a family?
that's a really insightful question. You're right to push back on the idea that sorry always equals guilt. It absolutely can be just a formality, a social lubricant. You bump into someone, you say sorry, even if it wasn't really your fault. It's a way to smooth things over, show politeness, avoid escalating a situation. In families, especially, sorry can become almost a habit, a way to manage conflict quickly, even if there isn't deep remorse involved. It can be about maintaining harmony more than admitting wrongdoing. So, yeah, sometimes it's just a family thing. It really depends on the context, doesn't it?
Do you believe saying sorry shows a person's strength or weakness?
That's a really interesting question. I think it's both, actually. It takes strength to admit you've done something wrong and to genuinely apologize. It shows self awareness and emotional maturity, but constantly apologizing for things that aren't your fault or apologizing to avoid conflict can definitely be a sign of weakness, of lacking boundaries. It depends on the situation and the motivation behind the apology. A sincere apology is strong, a habitual one, not so much. What's your take on it?
Okay, how important is the role of language is developing the culture of apology in the society?
It's a fantastic question. Language plays a huge role, honestly. The way a language structures apologies, the phrases it offers, the level of formality it requires, shapes how people perceive and practice apologizing. Some languages have very specific phrases for different levels of offense, which encourages nuance. Others might lack a direct equivalent of sorry, leading to different ways of expressing regret or seeking forgiveness. The availability of language, the subtle cues embedded in words, really sets the tone for how a society deals with wrongdoing and reconciliation. It's not just about what you say, but how your language. I'm glad you feel that way. It's easy to overlook just how much influence language has on our social interactions, right? It's also ingrained. What were you thinking of specifically when you said a similar thing?
Do you think in the online world saying sorry has become easier or more superficial?
Oh, definitely more superficial. It's so easy to type sorry quickly without any real thought or emotional weight behind it. The lack of nonverbal cues, no, tone of voice, body language makes it easier to offer a hollow apology. In the public nature, that's very kind of you to say. I appreciate it. Oh, good night to you too.
In your opinion, does saying sorry make relationships stronger?
That's a really good question to end on. No, not just saying sorry. Saying sorry well with sincerity, taking responsibility, and showing a commitment to not repeating the mistake that can absolutely make relationships stronger. But simply uttering the words without those things can actually erode trust over time. It feels empty. It's the follow through, the demonstrated change that really counts. A sincere apology opens the door to repair, but it's the work after the apology that builds lasting connection.
Instead of sorry, what other alternative phrases or words do people use?
There are tons. It depends on the situation and how formal you want to be. People use things like I apologize, I regret, my apologies, forgive me. Sometimes just do it again. Are you going to explore alternative phrases to sorry? If so, that's great. I'm happy to brainstorm with you. Or is there something else you're planning?
Final question: do you think in the future the importance of saying sorry will increase or decrease?
That's a really thought provoking way to put it. Increase or decrease? I think increase. I think as society becomes more polarized and people are quicker to take offense, the pressure to apologize, even for things you don't necessarily believe you've done wrong, um, will likely grow. And that could create a situation where saying sorry becomes less about genuine remorse and more about risk management, avoiding backlash, protecting your reputation. It could become performative to an even greater degree and frankly exhausting. It's a bit of a dystopian thought, admittedly. What makes you ask that?
Okay, thank you so much, Maya, for answering my questions. I'll ask you more next time.
You're very welcome, Aksa. I enjoyed our conversation, even the quiet parts. I look forward to chatting with you again.
Thanks
Have
a
a good
lot,
night.
Maya. Thanks a lot, Maya. Bye bye.
All right. You're very welcome. And Maya, but you're welcome nonetheless. Have a good night.
Okay, bye. Thank you so much, friends, for watching my video. Next time, I'll come with even more unique questions for Maya. Thank you so much for watching my interview.